Hey YouTube, how's it going? So I just finished reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a really great book. It's the #1 personal finance book of all time in terms of sales. So today we're just going to look at some main takeaways that I got from the book. Let's do it. Alright guys, takeaway #1. This is something that the author calls the rat race. So what is the rat race? This is basically the pattern that we all go through. For me, it's get up, go to work, come back from work, play a little bit of video games, eat, go to sleep, and do it all over. This is something that we're all aware of, that we all kind of know about consciously in our head, that we're doing every day, and it's kind of leading really to nothing. And really what the rat race means in this book is that people work their whole lives for nothing. And the best part of their lives, they're working for money, and they don't really understand how money works. So the question really becomes, how do you get out of the rat race? And that's going to lead me into my next takeaway. Alright guys, so takeaway #2 is on asset and liability charts. So if you look up the definition for an asset and liability in the dictionary, you're going to find some convoluted definition that doesn't make sense to most people. That's why the author gets their own definition for asset and liability. An asset being something that puts money in your pocket, and a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. Now, another thing I want to mention is that the author really emphasizes visual learning, so he puts these asset and liability charts and these income statements visually so you can really understand how it works, and some certain things that we think are assets aren't really assets. So let's take a look at that. Alright guys, so here right now I have some visualizations on the screen of what these income statements and these asset and liability charts look like for the poor, middle class, and rich. So as you can see, for a poor person, the money comes in, right, and it goes straight to their expenses, and they don't really do anything with it, right? They just eat, buy clothes, taxes, rent, etc. Someone in the middle class, their money goes all towards their liabilities, which is school loans, credit card debt, mortgage, car loans, etc. That's their expenses, it goes right out. Where a rich person, they have assets. They have things like stocks, bonds, real estate, and these things bring them, these assets bring them money in the form of whether it's rental income, dividend, interest, and royalties. So as you can see through those visualizations, you can really see how helpful that they are. They put things into perspective. Would you rather work for money all your life, not really understand it and get nothing from it? Or would you rather put your money in assets? And when you do that, it's like the money works for you instead of you working for it. It becomes your employee. Your money starts working 24 hours a day for you if you put it in assets. So that's really the main takeaway from these charts. Learn a little bit about assets, put your money in it, and it's going to pay you. All right, everybody, takeaway #3. This one's a little more controversial. This one is that your house is not an asset. Now, by the author's definition, the house is a liability because it's taking money out of your pocket. You have to consider things like the mortgage payment, the property tax, the insurance, the maintenance costs, utilities, all that, coupled with the fact that your house is not guaranteed to go up in value. Now, the author states, if all your money is tied up in your house, you may be forced to work harder because your money continues blowing out of the expense column instead of adding it to the asset column early on. Again, reiterating, it's important to put in the asset column, especially early on, so that it compounds and pays you more in the long run. Now, obviously, if you're renting out your house, this doesn't apply to you because, or if you're using Airbnb, because that is putting money in your pocket, and that's how you turn it into an asset. And just real quickly, while we're on the topic of houses, I wanted to show folks just how much you're going to pay in interest. If you, let's say you buy a house that's $150K and you put 20% down, $30K, you're looking at a $916 monthly payment. Not bad, you might say, right? But after 30 years on a 4% interest rate, you're actually paying $90,000 in interest. Can you imagine that? $90,000 extra just paying it to the bank? No thank you. And then right here you have on a 3%, $63,000. So just ask yourself, before you buy a house, do you really want to pay this much in interest? Alright guys, so I'll end takeaway #3 with one of my favorite quotes from the book. This is, rich people buy assets, poor people only have expenses, and the middle class buys liabilities and thinks that they are assets. I thought that was really funny, so I'll end that with that takeaway. Alright guys, takeaway #4. This one is, don't be afraid to make mistakes and educate yourself. Become financially literate. So the education system today teaches us to not make mistakes, not take risks, don't fail. This is terrible because this fills people with doubt and fear, and that doubt and fear is really what keeps us poor. A perfect example of this is when I opened my retirement account a few years back. I was mainly investing in mutual funds. Now, mutual funds a lot of times are actively managed, meaning there's someone looking over the account. And what comes with this is a lot of sales charge, higher expense ratios, meaning that they take a bigger portion out of the profits that come out of it. And in the long run, that ends up costing you a lot of money. Thankfully, I realized that early and kind of switched to a different kind of fund. So yeah, like I said, after reading a couple of books, after watching different channels on how people reach financial freedom, I made a new decision. Now I'm investing in index funds. Now, index funds are passively managed, meaning no one's actually looking over them. They just follow an index of a bunch of stocks like the S&P 500, for example. And these index funds are proven to outperform mutual funds in the long run, and the fees are dramatically lower, so it's a win-win. Moral of the story, as the author puts it, is that he has never met a rich person who has never lost money, but he has met a lot of poor people who have never lost a dime investing. What does that tell you? That's basically saying find your risk tolerance, right? And take risks, especially when you are young. You can rectify those mistakes, and more importantly, you can learn from them. So mistakes are a good thing. All right, guys, takeaway number 5 is learn about taxes so you can take advantage of it. This is something that rich people do. They find the loopholes in the tax system and they reap the benefits of that. So one of the things mentioned in the book is about becoming a corporation, like if you can, because the way corporations have it set up is that, well, first of all, they're taxed less than people, which I think is a little bit strange, but regardless, the way corporations get taxed is they earn money, they spend it, then they get taxed. Versus the employees that work for that corporation, they earn money, then they pay taxes right after, then they spend. So it's kind of like they're not getting as much bang for their buck. So another thing about taxes is the author was talking about write-offs. This was basically talking about how if you're a corporation, you can do things like go on vacation and then say that that's a business expense, saying that you were in a conference or meeting. Or anytime you buy food, you can put that off as a business expense and resulting in you paying less in taxes. So again, I thought that was valuable and a good takeaway, because to look at it in the way that a corporation, they earn, spend, and then pay taxes, versus an employee, they earn, pay taxes, and then spend. I thought that was a good takeaway, so I wanted to add that in. All right, guys, takeaway number 6 is something called the 1031 exchange. Now, this is something you can do to avoid paying taxes. If you buy a house and sell it, you normally have to pay something called the capital gains, right? You're going to pay a tax on that. But if you do a 1031 exchange form, what essentially you can do is take the money that you get from selling the house and you reinvest it again into another property, let's say, and you avoid paying tax on it because of that. So what's really interesting that the author talks about is that you can do this in an unlimited amount of time. So you start with a really small real estate that's in foreclosure, something very cheap. You flip it, sell it, and then you can keep on selling it, flipping and selling it, and turn something very small into something very large, and then you avoid paying taxes on it with the 1031 exchange form. So I thought that was really valuable, and that's the last takeaway for this video. Alright guys, so obviously there's so much more in the book. These are just the takeaways that I chose because they stuck with me. I highly recommend reading the book because you're going to learn a lot. Now let's get into the review. Overall, I really value this book, especially when it comes to opening my eyes to real estate investing. It's something that I really want to dabble into a little bit later in my life once I finish my student loans. But yeah, it's giving me ideas on what I want to educate myself on next and what I'm going to get into next. So that's really exciting, and that's why I recommend it. An issue I can see some people having with the book is that it focuses primarily on changing your mindset, versus some people who want to read a personal finance book. They're looking for concrete examples. What do I invest my money in? Like, what's a good account? What's a good index fund, etc. They're looking for concrete examples. This book is more so changing the mindset. So that's not everyone's cup of tea. And because of that, I give the book a 4.5 out of 5. There's also certain things that I don't agree with the author. That doesn't take away from how good the book is and how much you can learn from it. So, I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5. Easy read, you'll go through it quickly. Now, if you like this sort of video, please like and subscribe and comment down below with your favorite financial YouTube channels. For me, I really like Our Rich Journey, Dave Ramsey, and this guy named Andrew Jeek, I think his name is. He's got some good videos. So check out those channels. Anyway, guys, that's it for the video today. Guys and gals, that's it. I hope you guys have a great day and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take it easy.